Hello, everyone. Happy Sunday, and welcome to the Mindminx show. I am your favorite Mindminx, and we are here at Mix Vibes Radio. And I have a superbly special guest today, joining us via Zoom, which I just am so grateful that you're giving us on a Sunday. So I would like to introduce everyone to Jack Ciattarelli.
Hey, Celia, great to be with you, and thank you for that introduction. I've been introduced a number of different ways over the past couple of years, but that's the first time like that, so thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. I aim to please. So,
by the way, my compliments on your opening soundtrack. I was ready to start dancing.
Ah, thank you. Yes. It gives you a nice little want to get into it and see what's going to happen next type of vibe. Oh, now I can see you. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much for giving us some time. I am so excited to have you on air with me today. We are going to have a conversation to let people get to know you in the next hour and hopefully then vote for you come this election in November.
I appreciate that, Celia. I mean, it's what the campaign is all about, getting to know the candidates, and I'm confident the better they get to know Jack Ciattarelli, they're going to pull the lever for Republicans this November. So thank you for the opportunity.
You're very welcome. I'm so glad. I was nervous right before we went live. I was like, oh crap, I should have asked him if I'm saying his last name properly.
You've nailed it.
Yay.
Yes, and knowing your bloodlines, you better.
Yeah, my dad would be proud. So everyone, if you don't already know who this man is, this is New Jersey born and raised and educated and business owner his entire life, third generation Italian here in our beautiful state of New Jersey. If you don't already know, I'm a Jersey girl, so yes, it's my beautiful state. And I was really intrigued going through all the different information that I found about you. So I just wanted everybody to know you went to Seton Hall. Not only did you get your bachelor's there, you also got your master's there. And you're an adjunct professor. Are you still there as an adjunct professor?
I am not, but of all the things I've done in life professionally, that was very, very inspiring and rewarding.
I think we're having a little difficulty with the
adjunct professor at Seton Hall for 3 years.
For 3 years, okay. Do we need to? It's not us. It's okay. We're having a little issue with sound, so I just want to do a quick check, just again with you.
Just make sure you can hear us.
Can you hear us? Okay.
I can hear you fine. How about now?
Okay, that sounds a little bit better. Yes, thank you.
Great.
Okay, so if you all missed it, was for 3 years, but you're no longer, and that's because you've kind of been busy, I'm assuming.
No, that was back in the early 90s. I was there for 3 years as an adjunct professor, teaching in the graduate and undergraduate program, and again, a very, very inspiring experience. It's always great to be with people that are furthering their education, and I hope to do that one day again, but certainly not any time over the course of the next 8 years. I plan to be busy as governor of New Jersey.
Well, I hope you're busy doing that as well. But you also were a business owner, so you are a certified public accountant. So I got to ask you, just because I'm that kid, I'm like, did he do taxes? Did you enjoy it? Is that why you stopped and you started running for office?
You know, Celia, it's really funny. I so enjoyed accounting as a student. I love it as a discipline. It was the single greatest asset to me as a business owner. I hated it in practice.
Okay.
But the one good thing that came out of it is, and this is something my dad always told me because I was really good at math and he pointed me toward accounting, that you'll get to see everybody else's books and you'll be introduced to a whole lot of different industries. So the last accounting firm I worked at, one of the companies that I was the senior accountant on, was a family-owned medical publishing company.
Yes.
They produced educational materials for doctors, pharmacists, and nurses. And I got to know the company real well, went to work for them. And 3 years after it was sold, instead of go work for the new management, I went and started my own. So I've been fortunate living the American dream here in New Jersey. I've worked really hard, but one of the things about me being governor, I want to see other people feel confident they too can achieve their American dream in New Jersey.
I love that. I really do. And I actually believe that from you. I'm not going to lie. So,
Well, listen, it's what my candidacy is all about. Here in New Jersey, the state we love, the state, as you said, is beautiful, but it is broken in a number of ways. And I want this to be a state that addresses what I refer to as the great struggle. Young people struggle to get started here. The working poor struggles to find the middle class. The middle class struggles to get ahead. Our seniors struggle to retire here. People struggle to start a business. They struggle to prosper here. We can change all that. And that's what this year's gubernatorial race is all about.
I love it. Awesome. All right. So before even your political career began, and I'm hoping I have the timeline correct, you're also a cancer survivor.
So it's interesting. It was about now 4 or 5 years ago. I was diagnosed with a throat cancer. I was very fortunate. I'm pretty vigilant when it comes to my body, and diagnosed it real early and got the right kind of medical team. And I was very fortunate in that it's a very curable form of cancer. So I'm cancer free. I'm A-OK. I wouldn't be doing this otherwise. But I am a member of that exclusive club of cancer survivors.
Amazing. That's a great story to have and be able to tell. I'm happy.
Well, the great thing about the modern miracle of medicine is if you diagnose something early enough, there's very few things they can't fix. So I try to be an inspiration to any people that are newly diagnosed with cancer, including one of my mother's sisters, my aunt, who's recently come clean and is cancer free. But there's a great many of us walking around, more than you know.
Right. Awesome. Okay, so let's get into it. So this all started as you becoming a councilman in your town of Raritan. Did I get that correctly?
You did. That's the town my grandparents immigrated to 100 years ago. Raritan Borough, little Italian enclave in Somerset County.
Nice. But then I don't know, was it natural for you? Like, I'd say, yeah, I'll run for council and I wouldn't know what the hell to do. Like, was this a natural progression for you? Because then became council president. It wasn't just like, you.
Celia, I've been very fortunate in life that people have always seen different qualities in me and then kind of pushed me in certain directions. When I came up from Seton Hall University with my MBA CPA, the mayor of the town at the time was a lifelong fellow tavern owner because my parents owned a restaurant and bar. And he came to the house and he said, MBA CPA, lifelong New Jerseyan, lifelong resident of Raritan Borough. We need someone like you on the borough council. Will you run for borough council?
Okay.
And so I always say you end up in this business one of three ways. You have a family member that's in it. That wasn't the case with the Ciattarellis. You're inspired by somebody. My parents' generation were inspired by John F. Kennedy. A lot of people in my generation were inspired by Ronald Reagan. A great many young people today were inspired by Barack Obama. But that wasn't the route for me either. I got in the third way, which is that someone came to the house and recruited me. And so that's how it all began.
Okay. I can hear you, but it is jumbled, and I don't want anyone to miss out on this. Is there any way that you can call in so that we can make sure we don't hear the garbledness? I don't know where the issue with the connection is, but I want to make sure everybody can hear.
So would you prefer that I call in and then we?
Yes, please. I'm going to give you a number.
Okay.
It is our hotline, but nobody else is allowed to call. We're only taking one caller today, and that's from Jock Ciattarelli. So
okay.
It's
what we'll
VIP.
do is we'll stay on the video, but we'll do the communication through the phone line.
Will we keep the video open?
Yeah, we'll
Yes, the video will. Oh, we're going to shut down the video so you can just worry about being on the phone. Let me know when you're ready for the number.
We are. Go ahead.
718
Yep.
616 9971.
Last four digits again, please.
9971.
Okay, we're calling in right now.
Wonderful.
We'll turn off the speaker on here.
I think she said when Nick's in the video.
We're going to leave the video.
Okay, yes, we can hear you great. You can go ahead and hang up the video, the Zoom.
Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you. I have some reverb. Let me know when the video is done.
Yep.
Okay, we're good. All right, thank you so much. I just don't want anybody to miss anything that you say.
Okay.
All right. So, so we were talking about you becoming council president for Raritan, and from there, I learned that you became part of the Somerset County Board of Chosen Freeholders. What does that, in the simplest way, how do you define what is that?
So here in New Jersey, we have 3 levels of government. We've got municipal government, we've got county government, and then we have state government. So when I started out in Raritan Borough, that was me serving the local town at the municipal level. And I did my 2 terms. I've always been a term limit guy, and left politics for 10 years. My wife and I were having the first of our 4 children. I was starting my first business. Didn't want to be burning the candle at too many ends.
Okay.
10 years goes by, and the children are all in school, and our first business has been sold. And the Republican leadership in Somerset County approached me to run for county freeholder. So freeholders, today they're called county commissioners.
Okay.
They're elected officials responsible for running for county government. County government in New Jersey is primarily responsible for taking care of the infrastructure, county roads and bridges, providing a county court system, providing a county jail, and executing all of the various social service programs made possible by federal grants, like our Medicaid system and the like. So that's what a county commissioner is all about, a county freeholder. And I did serve 2 terms in serving the people of Somerset County.
And from there, you actually resigned because you became assemblyman.
Well, I was in my last year, my 2nd term, and I wasn't going to run for re-election. And I was asked to run for the state legislature. And so I accepted that challenge and was fortunate enough to win 3 elections. Those are 2-year terms, serving the people of the 16th Legislative District, which encompasses a part of Somerset, Hunterdon, Mercer, and Middlesex counties. And I was a state legislature. I was in the state assembly. And I did that for 6 years, 3 2-year terms, and then decided to run for governor, and that was 4 years ago.
Well, there is an interesting part of you running for assembly that I wanted to just touch on. You had a running mate, Peter Biondi, and once 2 days after, I guess you guys won, he passed away. And when it said that you were selected to fill out the remainder of the term, is this like a 2-person job?
So New Jersey is broken up into 40 legislative districts. Each district has approximately 220,000 people in it, and that aggregates to our 9 million citizens. Every one of those legislative districts, Celia, has 1 state senator and 2 assembly people.
Okay.
The assembly people serve in the House. The state senators serve in the state Senate. So I was one of the 2 assembly people that won that November. Unfortunately, sadly, my running mate, Peter Biondi, passed away 2 days after the election.
So sad.
He was an incumbent. I was a brand new challenger.
Okay.
And because he was an incumbent with 2 months left in the old term, I immediately filled his spot for those last 2 months, November and December, and then January got sworn into the spot that I won that previous November.
That's crazy. So I brought all of these things up because, and I started with the question of, was it a natural progression? Because it seems like, speaking with you, you said you were invited, you were challenged to do this, and you did it, and you succeeded in doing all of these things. It's rare to find someone who has been that type of progression in this type of a career, but still stay so humble. And I say this because I met you in real life. So
you bringing that up is very kind, Cecilia, and I greatly appreciate it. My parents always taught us, no matter what our status or stature in life, we're all in this together. We're all equal. And I put the garbage out every Thursday night, so there's nothing terribly special about Jack Ciattarelli. I think I do bring a very, very unique background to the governorship. We've never had an MBA CPA who was a business owner in the state, who also has served at every level of government, the municipal, county, and state level.
Every level.
That provides a very unique perspective, I think. Very unique background, very unique life experiences. I am a parent. I'm married. We have 4 children. All those things, I think, make me a better person. All those things help me better identify with everyday, hardworking New Jerseyans. As I said, the Ciattarellis have been here for 100 years. My parents, my dad worked for Public Service Electric and Gas for 38 years, street department. My mom worked midnights on the line at J&J. There were a number of years they owned a restaurant bar. They've always taught us to work hard and be respectful of others, whoever, no matter what, who or what those others might be. And I just love New Jersey's diversity. I think New Jersey is a very unique place, but I do think my unique background qualifies me to kind of address the issues that we all know exist in New Jersey. So I'm excited about this year's race, and I'm excited about what my unique background brings to the table for New Jerseyans.
Well, I think everybody should know that, and they will appreciate that as well, because anyone who has the same background, born and raised in the state and ground up, nothing handed to them, can appreciate your story as well. I know I do personally. And I'm going to talk about this later on. I remember having a mock debate in high school. Now, I went to high school in Upper Montclair, and obviously college in Montclair as well. But the high school that I went to was very middle and upper middle class. And when we did this mock debate, that's when Bill Clinton was running. And I, for some reason, wanted to play Bill Clinton. So I did. But part of the process was learning what the different stances, the people running for office at that point were encompassing. And I remember getting into the hugest arguments with my friends. Now, mind you, there was only 28 girls in my graduating class. So if I was fighting with a friend, we were fighting with half the school. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But because we came from middle class, and my father made a very comfortable life for us, but we were by no means wealthy. But some of my friends were. And I remember having the only argument with them saying, well, why should my dad have to pay more taxes because he makes more money because he works harder? I was like, he's not working any harder than my dad. And it caused such a divide that I still see that I so appreciate the fact that you are that ground up person. This is not just, someone entitled, someone that was handed down, great grandpa made the money an eon ago and you're still riding those coattails. So that's the story that I want everybody to hear about you.
Oh, again, Celia, I greatly appreciate that. I promise New Jerseyans I will never do something I've never done, which is to use public policy to pit people against each other. So I find it very offensive. Our current governor is someone that always says we just want people to pay their fair share, which suggests that people aren't paying their fair share. And to me, that incites class warfare. So we should never try to win the day on a given issue by pitting people against each other, or suggesting that somebody's not doing their part or that somebody's working harder than somebody else. I think there's a better way, a more productive way, a more constructive way to win the argument. And I've always tried to do it strictly from a policy perspective in explaining to people that, hey, here's something that we need to do. And some of us may be sacrificing more than others, but we're still all in this together. Let's not ever be pitting people against each other.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%, beyond 100%. And before I forget, I wanted to just say hi to Linda Barba. I know that she's the reason why we know each other, and because she wanted to be here today, but she had a showing. So I said, go make that money. But I promised her I'd say hello, so I apologize. But if I forget again, it won't happen.
Well, if Linda's listening, allow me to say hello, too. She's become a great friend, certainly a great asset to the campaign. She's New Jersey through and through.
Yes.
And works very, very hard. And it's been great getting to know her. So
she's a good egg. That's the second time I've said that about her this week.
She's a good egg.
Okay, so we were talking before we went live about this article that I read about you that was just ran a couple of weeks ago. And I love this because, I have no problem telling people that I am a registered Democrat, but I have very moderate, sometimes conservative views that don't always align with the classic Democratic 2021 view. And I love the fact that you said in this article that you're not disrespecting your base. You're just letting them know that there are other people that need to be spoken to about who you are. Can you talk to me about that? Because when I tell you I loved reading that this morning, that was awesome.
I've always prided myself, Celia, on going anywhere and everywhere and listening. Whenever I'm asked what is the job of an elected official, I always say the first job is to listen. The issues today are numerous, and some of them are very, very complex. And anybody running for elected office that thinks that they are an expert in every one of those areas is, number one, kidding themselves, number two, not listening, and number three, going to be a bad elected official. So I just think it's critically important to do something I've always done, particularly as a Republican, and that's to go places Republicans typically don't go. Mm-hmm. And I often educate fellow Republicans that we are the minority party in this state. But I don't see that as a disadvantage, because New Jersey has proven time and time and time again that it votes for the person who they think is going to best serve their needs. And I'm living proof of that. The little town that my grandparents immigrated to was a 3-1 Democratic town. I was fortunate enough to win 2 elections, and my re-election, it was by the largest plurality in the history of the borough. It still stands today.
Wow.
When I ran for county freeholder in Somerset, Democrats outnumbered Republicans, but I won election. And the 3 times that I won election in the state legislature, it was in an overwhelmingly Democratic district. And I worked very, very hard to go out and sit down with people, listen to their issues, and then talk about how I would solve their problems. And they've elected me every single time. So I have great faith in the people of New Jersey. They're very, very unique. It's a very, very unique electorate in New Jersey. It's a very, very reasonable electorate. Mm-hmm. And if you work hard enough to get out there and spend time with them, as I was last night in Jersey City, mm-hmm. they're going to vote for you.
I completely agree. It's as soon as we think that you just assume you don't need to speak to us is when that Jersey attitude comes out, and then you could just forget about it.
Absolutely. And I'll hear this oftentimes, that I'll hear from fellow Republicans that, well, they're not going to vote for you. They're not going to vote for you, whoever there might be.
Right.
And first of all, I think that's a terrible attitude.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the bottom line. If you don't go to those places and listen, they're not going to vote for you. Why should they?
Right. That's 100% correct.
And by the way, when you tell me that you're a Democrat,
yes,
but that your views are moderate,
yes,
and I'm sure there's so many issues today. I'm sure there's some issues on which your view might be considered conservative. There's other issues on which your view might be considered liberal. I don't really like to apply those labels, because I think you're the typical New Jerseyan.
No, exactly. Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. There's nothing typical about me.
Right. Yeah. So, again, I think we're too quick in politics today, and it's one of the things that's wrong with politics today. We're quick to call somebody a name. We're quick to apply a label. We're quick to engage in denigrate every policy disagreement into a culture war. My wife and I are married 27 years, very happily. We've been very fortunate in raising 4 very productive adult citizens. My wife and I have not agreed on everything. That doesn't mean we start calling each other names,
right,
or canceling the other person. I respect her opinion, even when it differs from mine.
Mm-hmm. And that's how you get things done. That's what compromise is called.
And that's how you get things done. And more times than not, if you just take the time to listen to what the difference of opinion is, I find a lot of times you wake up and you say, wow, I really haven't thought about that. Maybe I need to modulate my position a little bit.
That's what we need more of. That is right there. That's exactly what it is. Someone willing to listen and then let it process and then be like, the light bulb went off. Maybe they're not so wrong. That's what we need.
That's what we need. And I will tell you, the reason why I'm a Republican is because I was always in love with Abraham Lincoln, who was the first Republican president. And he famously once said, 2 people can honestly disagree and neither one be wrong. Lincoln had empathy for people. He was a very, very humble person. And I think that empathy and humility are 2 qualities that we don't spend enough time talking about today, particularly to our young children.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really virtues that are a necessity in life. we need to have empathy for our brother and sister, and we need to be humble, realizing that we may not have it perfectly right each time. We could be wrong, and that's why it's important to listen.
I love that. And you're doing this genuinely all over this. Like I every time I go into your Instagram or your Facebook, you're somewhere else, including you just got back from an epic visit to Israel. Can you talk about that? Are you allowed to talk? Like, what can we know about?
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's a critical component of the experience of being a candidate. You need to learn about different things. And the trip to Israel taught me a great many things that'll be critical to my governorship. Nearly 10% of the New Jersey population is Jewish. Our relationship with Israel is critically important to them. It's not just an economic relationship, it's a relationship of solidarity, that we stand by Israel. But getting back to the economic component, Celia, last year, $14 billion in Israeli private equity money poured into New York. Only $1.5 billion of Israeli private equity money poured into New Jersey. Wow. So in meeting with religious leaders and civic leaders, I talked about solidarity. But in meeting with business leaders, I was there to tell them that under my governorship, New Jersey is going to be open for business. We need to create more jobs, more better paying jobs for New Jerseyans. And the best way to do that is by demonstrating to business leaders around the world that we're going to be open for business. So it was a life-changing experience visiting there in terms of learning all about the Israeli people, meeting with their business leaders and what their future investment opportunities are, but also learning, obviously, the very dangerous situation in which Israel sits as a democracy and as a strong ally of the United States. It's a country that seems to be always under the threat of danger, and we need to let the people of Israel know that they are our sister nation, and we're going to stand with them in solidarity. Interestingly, Celia, Israel is a state whose landmass is about equal to New Jersey.
Really? I didn't know
Believe
that.
it or not, its population is equal to New Jersey. We're both, we have 9 million people. The state of Israel has 9 million people.
Amazing. Well, I love that. And the reason why I brought that up, because I was looking through some of the comments of people, you know, when you had when it was posted that you were on your way back, you know, people said, you know, why are you there? What does that have to do with New Jersey? I just want everybody to know that at one time, Markel was manufactured here in New Jersey. Nabisco was manufactured here in New Jersey. We've lost those. That was huge. It's 600, I believe I read, right?
Nabisco was a big landmark that you always see on the highway.
600 jobs were lost when Nabisco closed.
600 middle-class jobs, and for the first time in 63 years, Oreos will no longer be made in New Jersey.
I know. But when I went to the supermarket...
It's a very sad development. Phil Murphy had nothing to say about it. We can't have companies leaving. We need companies that are here. We need them to stay and prosper. And companies that are looking to open up new operations, we need them to do that in New Jersey. And my trip to Israel was very much about that. So it wasn't a vacation.
Right.
We weren't laying on a beach in Tel Aviv. Again, over the course of 72 hours, I left Sunday night, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. In fact, you know, you leave Sunday night. When you arrive in Israel Monday morning, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. And we went right to work. And so over the course of those 72 hours, again, meeting with religious leaders, and civic leaders, and business leaders, and arrived back home Thursday morning at 4 a.m. New Jersey time.
Did you get to recoup from that flight?
Well, you know, the great thing about the campaign, Celia, it really, in my case, it energizes me. So, yeah, we slept on the plane on the way home. We got home at 4 a.m., went home, showered up, and got right back out on the campaign trail. And we're in the home stretch here. We've got 2.5 months to go.
I know. It's getting exciting now.
It's very exciting. I'm excited for the people of New Jersey. There's only 2 governor races in the entire country this year, ours being one, obviously. And it's just a great opportunity for the people of New Jersey to make a decision on what our future is going to look like here. And Phil Murphy and I have very different visions on the future.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's the whole point. I mean, when someone new is coming into office or running for office, it's got to be, there has to be a difference. Otherwise, there wouldn't be looking for something new. But I wanted to bring up that Stamy. Am I pronouncing her name right? Is it Stamy or Stami?
Stami.
Stami.
Stami Williams is my director of communications.
My apologies, Tommy. We've been communicating for
Hey,
quite a few
listen, she taught me it's Tommy with an S, and it took me a month, but we've got it down now. And
I love it. Now I will never forget it. So Stami
Right.
had said in the same article in Politico that you're having blunt conversations and honest conversations, and then I quoted this, so I'm gonna read it. I wrote it down. You're not going to talk about abortion or gun rights, but what you do want to talk about are things that everybody wants, no matter who they are. And I love that because it sounds like, normally it sounds like that familiar wooing, but getting to know you and having gotten to know you, and now, learning about your upbringing, it doesn't sound like, like that typical romance, the wooing part of the romance where, as soon as you get hooked, then everything goes out the door. This sounds like who you really are, and I love that.
One of the things I just love about New Jersey is you can't BS New Jerseyans. They know BS when they see it. They know it when they hear it. I'm just going to be Jack.
Yeah.
I've been New Jersey my whole life, and I'm just going to play it straight. And while that might sometimes drive the consultants nuts because they want you to be scripted, I'm not the type of guy to be scripted. And so, listen, there are single-issue voters in New Jersey. There are single-issue voters on an issue like abortion. There are single-issue voters on an issue like gun rights. There are single-issue voters out there. But my experience has been that the majority of voters in New Jersey there's two things that everybody wants. There's two things that kind of transcend politics. Everybody wants opportunity, and everybody wants security. And so I've always believed that a common sense conservative approach to government is what provides opportunity and security best. So I've always talked about how I would go about providing opportunity and security. If people ask me questions on an issue that is singly most important to them, of course I answer that. They deserve that. That's my obligation. That's my responsibility. And I'll give them that answer. But on the whole, what I do is go out and talk about providing opportunity and security, the two things that everybody wants, no matter what their race, creed, color, or gender.
And you prove that by the amount of activity and events that you attend. This is not just, Jack going to, and I'm going to put it bluntly, everybody don't hate me, but it's the truth. You don't just go to white events. You don't just go, you're everywhere. I have not seen one post. By the way, I was hard pressed to find single pictures of you because all your posts, you're with people. And it was a beautiful thing to see because that's exactly the diversity that exists in our state is second to none. I mean, we're the melting pot. Like Liberty Island is technically in New Jersey. If you didn't know, it really is. Lady Liberty is in Jersey, and it's just nice to see that. And I'm gonna rehash it over and over again. The fact that you are that real guy. You do come from your hard work. So you're not talking what ifs or possibilities. You showed that you did it. You went through the full gambit of what Jersey could do for someone. And it brings hope because there's so many people out there, including myself, I'm not going to lie, because some of the views that that I have is that, a lot of these assistance programs help the underclass, the below the poverty line. So I don't qualify for anything. And I think it's funny that, when I go to do my taxes, there's a tax credit for someone if you own a boat. And I was like, who owns a boat? But right. So for me, that's an important view. But I feel like I would be able to talk to you about the fact, like, what is there for this? I'm like solid middle class. I am living my life and I qualify for nothing. But I also don't get it. So, but it's nice to feel that I can talk to you about these things. And I actually had one question that we did wanted to bring up, and I promised my engineer I would. But Do you have a view about the bail reform bill and crime?
Yeah, and here, Cecilia, I thought you were going to ask me whether or not it was gravy or sauce in the Ciattarelli house.
Oh my God, yes. Okay, no, yes, we're going to do that one right after. Because it was gravy in my house.
Hey, listen, I think we all had the best of intentions when the bail reform first came on the scene. We don't want to have situations where those with financial means get released because they can post bail, and those that don't can't. And there was also a very fiscal conservative component to that because if you can post bail, it's actually a savings to taxpayers because we're not jailing you and having to provide dental care and medical care and food and clothing and shelter, right, 24/7.
Right.
So there was a social justice component. There was a fiscal conservative component. And it had all the best intentions. I think what we've learned on bail reform, now that it's been out there, is that we need to reform the bail reform. What I'm hearing from law enforcement across the state is that there are people who will be arrested and because of bail reform are immediately released, and 2 weeks later they're arrested again.
Right.
And a month later they're arrested again.
Right.
So I'm all about social justice, but I think what we've learned is that the way that we initially designed the bail reform, it needs to be tweaked. And that's something certainly I'm going to look at as governor.
Well, I think he was nodding his head.
By him saying saying that
is what you're saying?
he just you just I'm more than sure that the entire bail industry just it speaks for itself. That's all I got to say. Yeah.
Yep.
You pretty much hit like the pointers on it because of the fact that I was law enforcement. I was also in the bail industry, and you know, if I had to work New Jersey as a law enforcement officer, it's kind of upsetting because like some people don't come back. There's a good percentage that do not come back on I promise. Hey, I promise I'll be back in the court, and they don't.
That's the other challenge. And you know, when you read like in New York City that they're giving you that if you promise to come back,
get Mets
they're
tickets.
going to give you Met or Yankee tickets. Are you kidding me?
Wait, so can we go back to my argument? I get nothing.
Yeah. They don't come back on their own money. You think they're going to come back on county money? It doesn't happen.
Mean, it's just so we've got to reform the bail reform. I think we've learned. And let's talk about the larger issue that's at work. Crime is up.
Yep, absolutely.
And the job of law enforcement has never been harder. And a lot of it has to do with people that understand, hey, I can do this and I'm going to be back on the street in 24 hours. We now have flash mobs in New Jersey because our juveniles can't be taken into custody for unruly behavior. I mean, when have we ever had curfews on the Jersey Shore?
Right.
When have fireworks ever been canceled because of these flash mobs? Law enforcement's never had it harder. We have to support them. We can't handcuff our local police, and so this is all part of a larger discussion of which bail reform is a critical component.
Are you happy with that answer?
I want to use your address to go live over there so I can vote for him.
My engineer isn't a Queens guy, so he cannot vote, but he's loving that answer. He had a nodding the whole time you were talking and has a huge smile.
I'm actually going to promote this video on the New Jersey bail agents website so they got their answer.
Well, I appreciate that. I think anybody anyone who says that we don't need to reform bail reform or arm our police with the right kind of policy. We know they're armed by carrying a firearm, but I mean armed another way. We've kind of disarmed them.
Yeah.
Anyone that's in denial on those things, I mean, anyone who disagrees, I think they're in denial. So it's certainly a focus of my governorship.
I'm over here just smiling. I'm loving this conversation because it's nice to hear these things. You're not making us feel like.
So once you become governor, do you want me to walk? What is it? The dog's name? Jordy.
He's so stupid. That's my engineer.
I like your engineer.
Who needs a brother when you have Mike over here?
Hey, we're all related. I'm happy to be his brother.
So is there anything that you would like to make sure everybody knows about you that I have missed? Mrs. Ciattarelli by Melinda. I don't want to be so formal. Hopefully she doesn't mind. You have beautiful pictures with, and I actually use that in your promo because you do speak very well, as you should, but that not necessarily does everybody speak about their partner fondly, but you do. and your children.
Listen, I would never complain, nor am I asking for a sympathy vote, but running for governor isn't easy.
Yeah.
And it's particularly hard for the family.
Sure.
You're suddenly thrust into the fishbowl, and you don't get to see husband and dad that often because it's 18 hours a day, 8 days a week. But I am very, very fortunate in that my family is all in supporting me and in their desire to fix New Jersey. I mean, the children all want to live here, and we do the Jersey Shore thing in the summer. There's a lot to love about New Jersey. But again, it's a state that's broken, and they know how passionately I feel about fixing New Jersey, and that's why they're so supportive, and particularly Melinda. Very, 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 very lucky to have her as my wife.
I think you're pretty lucky, too. Well, I don't want to take too much of your time. I'm hoping that you have the rest of today off, so I just want to let everybody know, again, this is Jack Ciattarelli, who is running for governor, and he is running feet first, right to the ground for this campaign race that's coming up in November. So if you have any questions, I think we've pretty much laid it out pretty well without getting into too much detail, because that's not my place to speak of. I wanted everybody to get to know you today, and I hope I did that well for you, sir.
Oh, so you couldn't have done it better. I greatly appreciate it, and I'm looking forward next time being with you and your engineer.
Okay.
I'm coming out there. Hold that dog.
Well, I know there's a fundraiser coming up. So, yeah, everyone, if you want to get to know him yourself, you can visit his website. You're on social media. You have great social media presence as well. And you're doing fundraisers all over the place. I know I was just invited to one, I think, coming up this week. Am I right?
Well, I didn't know that you're invited, but I think that's great news. And yes, in this business, I mean, two things you can't have enough of are money and votes, and we work on both each and every day.
Well, so I hope to see you this week. I want to thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time, and I appreciate you coming on with us today and calling in as well, because video was not being cooperative.
Yep, sorry about that. Don't know what happened to the connection, but the phone worked fine. So
that's okay. We got a little bit of your face, and everybody knows what you look like. So now we got to hear the sincerity in your voice as well. So thank you so much.
Thanks, Julia.
All right, so that's all the time that we have for today. It's a new week, so go own it. And don't forget to mind your favorite minx and join us next time. Have a great week, everyone. Thank you, Jack.